What's Council's reaction to the announcement that there'll be some extra flights between Dubbo and some of our biggest cities?
Yeah, look, it is very exciting to see some things opening up, to see some borders and flights and just restrictions lifting in general. And obviously as restrictions lift, that means that some organisations can get back to what may look like normal in the future. So this is pretty exciting for us. We'll be back to 6 days a week that you'll be able to fly to Melbourne and Brisbane. So the popularity of these flights was going well, and a couple of different airlines had tried these flights between, say, Brisbane and Dubbo and Melbourne and Dubbo. Link Airways have been doing an excellent job. It's an aircraft that people are familiar with. It's a Saab 340B, 34-seater that's used on a common flight with Rex, for example. They fly Dubbo to Sydney on that same plane. So people are very familiar with that plane, and getting those direct flights just means you can basically have a bit more shopping time, not having to go through and change at the airport in Sydney and get off one plane and get on another plane. So it just makes it a bit easier to get to Brisbane and Melbourne, and for people from Brisbane and Melbourne to come and do business in Dubbo.
And also, I guess it's pretty good timing, isn't it, with the international borders just reopening? So you hopeful that this could mean that maybe Dubbo is further up the list on the places to visit for international tourists?
There's a whole range of things it does. That's certainly one of the options, because we've got this wonderful Taronga Western Plains Zoo here. It is a tourist destination that people from around the world know. And if we make it a bit easier to get here, there's certainly no doubt about it that people come and visit Sydney. They want to see the Opera House, the Harbour Bridge, but they also can get to Dubbo quite easily once they're in Sydney. Now, with people being able to be in Brisbane and Melbourne and get those flights directly out to Dubbo, that obviously opens that up for that international tourism. But I think what we'll see more than that is we'll actually see more business connections between those cities, or between Dubbo and Melbourne and Dubbo and Brisbane. You'll get contractors that might go in both directions. You'll get consultants, professionals, a whole range of different opportunities open up once you've got that convenience of flight. It's a slightly longer flight, obviously, than Dubbo to Sydney, but it's still that convenience. You get on a plane, you get out your computer, you do a bit of work on that flight, and you land, and off you go, ready to do your day's business. The flights have been set up typically so they're easy for people from Brisbane and Melbourne to come to Dubbo in the morning, do their day's work, and then essentially go back, say, around lunchtime or 11 o'clock the next morning. So it kind of makes sense in terms of the way that's been set up. For people from Dubbo, we can get down to Melbourne and Brisbane on that around 11 o'clock flight, and then come back the next morning if we need to, or stay in those places for a couple of days.
And just to confirm, so is there already flights operating between Dubbo, Brisbane and Melbourne though, and these are additional, or this is brand new?
No, correct. There's been Dubbo flights operating out of Dubbo to Melbourne and Brisbane in both directions, but they've been restricted in the numbers. So at one stage they were down to 2 flights a week, then it picked up with 3 flights a week, and then this is now getting back to that full schedule, 2 flights on Fridays. So essentially you've got every day you can fly to either Brisbane or Melbourne, and again coming in as well, and that's all through the week. Saturdays is the only day there's no flights, and I think the data from Link Airways shows that Saturday is not a popular day to fly, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to get to somewhere to spend the Saturday at that location. So they do it the 6 days of the week, and then Fridays, because Friday is obviously popular when people are trying to get somewhere for a weekend, they do 2 flights on the Fridays.
Anything else you'd like to add?
I know it's a good show of support from Link Airways, and thank you to Link Airways. Obviously, they've got to have confidence in Dubbo and the Dubbo community to be able to put the extra flights on and have confidence that they'll be supported. And I think the community of Dubbo and the region, so it's not just Dubbo people that use these flights, you'll get people who'll travel in from around the region as well. Places like a Narromine or Canamble or even a Parkes, some of those places that are nearby will often travel to Dubbo via car and then get on those flights for the convenience factor.
Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Isabelle.